In this video, we're going to take a look at how to get started with Phosphorus 5. First, go to the GitHub project page for Phosphorus 5. Looks like this. Then click Releases, then download the latest release. It's important that you download source complete with submodules. Otherwise, you're basically going to get an empty system. Then when the download is complete, unzip it and open up p5.sln. Notice there's a description further down on the page using the source code version that explains how to install MySQL and Visual Studio, etc., depending upon your system. Now, of course, I happen to be on a Mac, so I'm using Visual Studio for Mac. However, the process should be similar also for Windows. With one exception, you need to turn off browser link. That's like a round icon at the top of a Visual Studio for Windows. Then when it's done, simply click Start Debugging. You might need to edit your web.config here, at which point you can open the web.config and search for MySQL, for instance. You might need to edit this connection string and add your password. The default password in the web.config is "this is not a nice password." I assume that was not the password you used as you installed MySQL, or MySQL, whatever you want to call it. Then when it is finished building, hopefully it's going to look like this. Now the system needs a PGP key in order to, among other things, cryptographically secure your password file. Now, of course, for debugging purposes on localhost, this isn't all that important. However, you should more carefully read this if you set up the system in a live environment. So you type your name, your email. These parts are necessary to create your PGP key. There are no other reasons for it. I don't steal your email address or anything like that. I am in fact not interested in it. However, you need a password which is at least 25 characters. Now, the arguments for that is basically written about here. However, this has to do with entropy of passwords. Phosphorus 5 requires extreme high entropy for your passwords. For a testing system, you can basically just copy parts of the text here at the top and then paste it in, right? Now, in a production environment, you probably want to submit your public PGP key to a key server. And depending upon your paranoia level, you also might want to supply manual salt. However, for debugging purposes, this is not necessary. Then when you click Save, the system will create a PGP key for you. And this process might take some time. Please allow it to finish. At this point, if you're being asked if you want to save your password, that's good. And you also might choose to purchase a proprietary license from me, which enables you to create closed source applications and also gives you extended support. However, if the system doesn't ask you, if the browser doesn't ask you if you want to store your password, you can actually just log out and log in again and paste in your password, at which point your browser hopefully is going to allow you to store your password. Notice your username is root. It is not your email address. ROOT is your username. As you could see, I could log in with my email address. Now at this point you can start playing around with the system. Now here is HyperID, a web-based integrated development environment with autocomplete and all that fancy stuff. Click Control Space to toggle autocomplete. You can open multiple files at the same time, C#, HTML, whatever, and you can browse the source code for the system here. And you can create your own modules. If you want to create your own module, you can, for instance, follow a wizard here, which contains 3 different templates for creating new modules. Now, then you can go to Camphora 5. Now, the first time you visit Camphora 5, you will see 4 example applications here. And you will also see the help files for the system. Wherever you are in the system, you can simply click the question mark. And this is going to provide you with context-sensitive help. Here I can, for instance, go through the documentation for Camphora 5. Or I can go to the root for the entire documentation. If I wanted to, I could check out the documentation for micro. And this button here with the eye is quite interesting because it extracts meta information for your currently active module and displays everything in kind of like the same way as Doxygen does. You can click on any extension widget or active events here to see its arguments and so on. However, what we wanted to do now was to check out Camphora 5. Now, for instance, here is a sales application, which is an example application. You can, of course, create your own application. If I click the power chord here, then I'm allowed to generate this application. This will generate a CRUD app, storing my data in a MySQL database. And as you can see now, I now have a new application called Sales, where I can start adding items, and so on. And it also contains a couple of views, some seller, some products, some per month, etc. And I can edit my items inline here. Now, of course, for this release, I have extensively made sure that Camphora 5 apps renders much more better on iPhones and other types of devices. You can also filter here and stuff like that, and download and upload CSV files. Then you might want to check out HyperSQL, which allows you to browse your database. Here I can see, for instance, the items in address book. Now, if you want to have a look at a real application, and you can also install and uninstall application. Now I'm uninstalling Sales. Now, if you want to have a look at a real demonstration use case, you can open up the help files and go to the root by clicking the home icon, and then you can click example use cases. Now I'm going to download the InGen source code zip here, and then when this is downloaded, I can actually install it simply by clicking the plus here, browse to my zip file, open it, and choose install. And at this time, I have installed the Jurassic Park theme park system, which is kind of like a kiosk system that allows guests to browse exhibits and purchase tickets and such using PayPal. Of course, I'm logged in now, so I get to see the settings of the system. So I can enable a ticket module, etc. At which point I need to supply my SMTP settings to be able to send the tickets on email to guests and so on. I can also browse tools, which will basically result in this.
The Tyrannosaurus was a bipedal carnivore with the massive skull balanced by...
And so on. If I want to have a look at the source code for this system, I can go back to my root URL, open up HyperID, click Modules, and click InGen. And here I can see the source code for the entire system. Now this uses the magic forest skin. If you want to skin your system, you want to choose a different skin, you can easily do so at the desktop module, choosing a skin. And now every single app changes. Or I can use the air skin and so on. So that was the 5-minute introduction to Phosphorus 5 and how to get started. There's a link to the download in the description of this YouTube video. Hopefully you enjoyed my video. Have a nice day and cheerio.